Mrs. Forster, formerly Miss Hertz, who worked there in 1912, wrote that Lloyd gave her staff a free hand while taking a great personal interest in the activities, including welcoming the children on her farm. She took lots of visitors there, including the charming Bishop of London. So people were coming from all over to see these two kindergartens. And the settlement itself was a prime example of how these women, these liberal women, worked together. It evolved from the very active 1887 Birmingham branch of the Ladies' Union of Workers among Women and Children. Now, it's often called the Union of Workers, and people get the wrong impression. It was not a trade union of women in factories. It was middle-class women who were doing social work. But it was set up in 1887. Birmingham played a large part in it. And both locally and nationally, they changed their name to the National Union of Women Workers in 1895. The new committee, and this is when the settlement was first set up in Colmore Terrace, it comprised many Unitarian and Quaker women, including Lloyd's sister Edith. In 1899, they established a settlement in the poor area of Summer Lane, with a warden, resident, and other non-resident ladies and workers. The first president, vice presidents, and members of both executive and general committees had largely Unitarian, Quaker, and university connections, and again, largely came from Edgbaston, Moseley, and Handsworth. And I don't know if you can see the names there. That's Mrs. Alice Beale, who was married to the deputy principal of Birmingham University, a Unitarian, and was very much involved in getting higher education for women, amongst other things. Mrs. Walter Barrow, it gets so annoying that they don't even have a first name of their own until you really look them up. But she was one of the first women to be co-opted onto the education subcommittee and did a lot of educational work in Birmingham. Mrs. Bracey was the secretary of the settlement. I know less about her, although I have read about her. And then Dame Elizabeth Cadbury, who was involved in everything. Another story. And this picture here, every year they try to take the mothers from this very poor area out on various outings, which apparently were great fun. As such, these women were soon providing proper training in social studies for students. Very interesting that the university and others used them because it was seen as providing proper studies, and involved in a wide range of activities concerned with providing a greater quality of life, chiefly for girls and their mothers in a very poor area. It was no wonder that Lloyd found these premises so inviting for a free kindergarten. Once a third kindergarten was underway, the Birmingham People's Kindergarten Association, BPKA, was formed, Sir Oliver Lodge addressing the first meeting and the 10th anniversary, arguing at the latter for trying to give small children of poorer people the same advantages as we desire and arrange for our own. So we've got the two kindergartens here now. Extolling the importance of the early years of childhood, he hoped that the Birmingham Education Committee would help support this private initiative, although in fact public funding was not permissible by law until 1918. The association, Honorary Secretary Julia Lloyd, was to play a leading part in the national movement for a national system of nursery schools, as demonstrated by a folder, and I've seen all this in London, entitled in Julia Lloyd's handwriting, Information of the BPKA sent to the Board of Education December 1914, and records of the BPKA as sent to the Board of Education requesting a grant December 1914. And in it she has masses of reports of the Greet and settlement kindergartens, a number of handwritten and typewritten addresses written by Lloyd, a pamphlet and other documents of hers, and other relevant documents. The addresses reveal her passionate convictions concerning kindergarten work and how they were grounded not only in her understanding of Pestalozzi and Froebel, but also in her personal experiences in Berlin and a personal visit to Boston, USA in 1906, where she was amazed to find they had masses of free kindergartens. So those there, I put that document particularly, you can't actually read it, but you can see it's written all over. And what I found most exciting looking at these documents was Julia Lloyd had written all over them, you know, like you do when you're really interested in a document at a meeting. And that was great. In 1913, she visited Maria Montessori and her schools in Rome, and obviously delighted in the authority which a lady doctor could wield within young people's education. She introduced some of the Montessori didactic material to the Birmingham kindergartens on her return and continued kindergarten work until she retired in 1935. Greek kindergarten became a nursery school in 1917, moving to Selly Oak in 1921, where it still is. Always well backed by its community of elite Birmingham women with some men, notably Quakers, university men and doctors, and Mary, or Maida Sturge, was one such person. Lloyd wrote various pamphlets on nursery schools, and it's her careful compilation of the annals of the Birmingham Nursery Schools Association 1903 to 1919, and the material she sent to Grace Owen, Secretary of the Nursery School Association of Great Britain and Ireland, which together with the evidence of others provide much valuable evidence of her work and beliefs. If any of you are interested at all in kindergarten, once the archives open in the new library, you can read all this and see masses of pictures for yourself, because there's a whole archive there. And I'm not talking about her other stuff, but she actually did go on to do a lot of work for the Workers' Educational Association and was an active supporter of the League of Nations after 1918. So she did a lot, and this was the tree. There's a long story about the tree and it moving, and another tree that was as well. But I put that down just to show it's a symbol of how she felt. So these two women, in their different ways, exemplify the significant role that women largely from Unitarian, Quaker, other nonconformist and liberal Anglican networks played in social, medical and educational work in Birmingham in this period, becoming a community within a community, a significant group usually ignored by historians until recently. I have to say I find it very, very exciting, because at the university and the chief archivist in Birmingham City Library and other people, a number of people are working on different women within this community at the moment. I think between us, we've got something like 2, 4, 6, something 6 to 8 new biographies coming out in the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography this year, all on Birmingham women. And a lot of them are Quakers, Unitarians, etc., but, you know, they're quite significant women. They illustrated the transition from voluntary to professional standards, not necessarily professionally paid, but professional standards in education, medicine, health and social work, with women from liberal progressive families, often, not necessarily wealthy too, educated in the new secondary schools that their families had helped establish, being enabled to be knowledgeable, efficient and innovative voluntary workers, or to become the professionals who taught the middle and upper classes, treated and managed their poorer sisters in the educational and medical institutions which they had helped set up. They promoted further opportunities for lower, middle and upper working class girls and women, albeit still within a class system. Between them, I think Sturge and Lloyd illustrated the pioneering spirit and activism of a new generation of women professionals, paid or unpaid, in education, medicine and social work. There were links between them through Edgbaston High School, the causes they supported, and the female network so strong in Birmingham's educational and philanthropic life in this period. Networks in which the further ones of Quakers and Unitarians were very significant. And I would say that the history of social and cultural change in Birmingham in this period, indeed, is more deeply understood if examined with a gender lens. Thank you.
I thought it was excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll have some questions after a little break for tea and coffee. As usual, we ask a voluntary contribution of £1 for tea and coffee for members and £2 for non-members. If you're not a member and want to join, please see Jan here in the front row. And have we got a signing in sheet this evening?
There's the yellow book, isn't it?
Yeah, if we could. It helps us if you can sign into that and give us your email address if we don't know what it is, so we can keep you up to date with events. We normally do a collection at meetings. I thought it would be a good opportunity. I've not discussed this, but we had a meeting last year with Lalaji talking from Womankind Worldwide. So I wondered if we could do a collection for them this evening. That seemed like a suitable suggestion. Okay. So have you got any extra pennies? Oh dear, what's that, Jim?
I was just going to say, okay, we haven't discussed this. Maybe Ruth had a suggestion.
Oh yes, sorry.
No, Womankind Worldwide is actually something that I support monthly.
All right, lovely.
So I'd be very happy with that.
I don't know if you ever met Lalaji. I think it was the same Lalaji Bound. She came and spoke to us last year. It was very interesting about their work as well. And just a little bit about future events before we have a break. Tomorrow there are 2 events going on. The Skeptics have got a meeting about Steiner schools in town, and the Philosophical Society and the university have a meeting as well. And if you want information about those, you can. Are they both on the calendar? They're both on the calendar on the website. You can ask us. Our next meeting is a special extra meeting on Friday week here downstairs with Sanal Edamaruku, who's president of the Indian Rationalists, who's in exile at the moment because he managed to annoy a Christian group in India the police are after him to arrest him for offending Christians in a certain part of India. And on the 11th of April we have Anthony Joseph, who's coming to talk to us about some of the history of the Jewish community in Britain. Okay, that's all I want to say for now. Alright, so have a little break. And what time are we at now? So we're saying about 15 minutes. We can get back together for some questions. Thanks.